Hello and welcome to another wonderful talk at the Positive Future for Health podcast at Pain Free. And today we have the wonderful Richard Cumbers, extraordinary man, and he's done so many things. You're going to hear some amazing things today. I met Richard. We haven't actually met yet, have we? We nearly did. We almost met. Richard, just unmute yourself. I think I've muted you too. Yeah, we were going to meet up in Suffolk, but it didn't work out. We tried our best, and it wasn't meant to be. But I'm sure we'll meet one day. Richard, can you tell us all about yourself? Why are you doing what you're doing? Who are you?
Mm. So I was brought up in the Middle East. I was at boarding school in the UK, and my father, his job was to get Saudi Arabian Airlines in Saudi Arabia working with Saudis. And by the way, if anyone listening to this, my voice is a bit gravelly. I've done quite a big detox in the last 3 days, so I feel great, but my voice it does sound a bit sort of a bit heavy.
We'll
And
understand. So it's a
so
good thing.
it is a good thing. Yes, it's supposed to be sexy. I'm not too sure if it is or not.
Very sexy.
But so yeah, basically from the age of 12 and earlier, I was flying out to the Middle East, to Saudi Arabia. My father was getting the airline up to speed, and because of that, I lived out there for 4 months a year. And also because he was quite high up, getting things done. I said I want to go to India. I want to go to United Arab Emirates, and he just write me a ticket out. So I'd just be
Brilliant.
flying off at an early age. And of course, at that age, it's a bit mad, but then life out there was pretty crazy. So I was seeing a lot of wild things in different countries, especially India. And, it was quite an eye opener because I was seeing things that if you came back to the UK and said you'd seen people levitate, they just go, you're completely, you're nuts. And a lot of wild things. Things in the Middle East were really crazy. I mean, you'd see things that you could never imagine how they'd happen. So, for example, in the port of Jeddah, I worked out there for a couple of years at 18, there were 300 ships waiting to come into the port. It was such a mess. A lot of the ships had sunk. A lot of the ships had come from Africa with live cargoes. Well, the animals had died because they couldn't get into port. Ships couldn't refuel. There's no fuel. They were unloading cement by helicopter. I mean, it was like the Wild West, but at 50 degrees. So, brought up in that environment, you just see things that were just really bizarre. And one of the bizarre things, well, not the bizarre things, one of the things that I saw was the way they dealt with health. There were herbs, there were spices, there was massage, there was talking to people, and especially in India,
Fancy that.
yeah, and they were very much, I saw, amazing things, gurus doing healing with their mind, with their hands, or Reiki. So yeah, for an age, that's pretty wild. I like to have, I want a slice of that. I then got into, for some reason, computers, etc. And I saw how computers were mimicking the human body, like a road network. You go down the M1 and the spaghetti
Wow.
junction. Well, that might be the heart, and the
And
smaller hubs might be.
how long ago was that? Because that's very early concept of they're pushing now these days, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we're
Mm,
going back to the late
yeah.
70s, early 80s. So it was really a question of,
Wow.
you know, seeing things on the outside, which were really internalized for us as well. And those things were very important because they gave you an understanding. We were creating on the outside what's really inside. That was the main thing. So yeah, there was a lot of other things happening, and I just gradually got more and more into it. I worked in computers. I worked as a technical manager looking after security for a major bank, would you believe? and
Wow.
used their computer mainframes to search the world for health and things before the internet was really born.
Mm.
I mean, the bank I worked for example, the money they spent every year on links, killer streams and mega streams was millions. So it's not like now when you pay your 50 quid a month and you can search the world in a second. I mean, we're talking things have come on massively. So yeah, really got more and more involved, and then for a lot of different reasons, suddenly wanted to really get into energy medicine. And
You got
you could,
mystery child behind you.
all right, what do you want? Quick, I'm online. What do you want? Okay, down you go then. Okay, thank you very much. It's lovely. Thank you. Lovely. Oh, oh, a tooth. Well done, Aaron. Fantastic. But, right. It's my son. His tooth has just come out. That's great. um, so yeah, so it was really quite wild. Suddenly, everything happened at once. I met some of the leading people in the world, all synergistically. I had a very interesting time when I was living in a flat in Worthing, and the flat, you could see the sea. There was a few bungalows in the way. It was a very nice first floor flat, and I was bringing up my daughter on my own as a single parent from about the age of 3 or 4, and I suddenly thought, I really want to be at the front of this energy medicine. And as I said that, looking out the big window, you could see the sea. I mean, it was all thick, black nimbocumulus cloud. It was just solid. And as I thought that, literally a hole opened up and this beam came into the kitchen. It was like, whoa, incredible. I mean, it was really, really freaky, but wonderful. And the very next day, I had a phone call from this guy who was right at the front of, and he said, yeah, I said, I'll be given your number by a woman in the States who's writing books, who you've talked to, and I'd like to meet you. Perhaps we could meet up, meet up. And I'm thinking, well, this guy he's in the UK, but he could be anywhere. Well, then it transpires he's 20 miles down the road. The very next day, I'm down there meeting him. So yeah, it all happened that way. I think the
Love
main
it.
thing with all this thing, as you know, Althea, is if you have the right intent, the universe seems to fill in the gaps. So
Yeah.
it's really having, looking at where you want to go, not the path, just where you want to be, and
Yep.
having that thought and letting it go. And suddenly the universe puts all these bricks in the way, or to stepping stones. So that's really where I came into, what I'm doing now.
Amazing, and it's absolutely I love the synchronicity of things, and I feel like when we notice these synchronistic things, it's like, consciously, intellectually having the proof that you're on the right spot, you're on the right track. But yeah, I mean, absolutely, I'm totally with you that you think a thought is real, and it's connected to everything, and
Yeah.
and especially when it's backed up by intention. It's not just a thought; it's with energy and drive and wish and want, like attracts like, and there it is.
Of course.
Amazing.
Well, again, we're saying, people have to realize that before you do anything, you have to have the thought to do it. And everything's electromagnetic. We're electromagnetic beings. So a thought has energy. And, when you create a magnetic field, it carries on pretty much forever, it just gets weaker and weaker. So hence you can see that if we have a medium called the ether, yeah, that things go through, our
Mm.
thoughts can be picked up on the other side of the universe if you had sensitive enough equipment. So again, we have a lot of equipment, for example, that we can do remote scanning of people. Um, the people who are sort of understanding that are very keen to maybe have it done, because it means they haven't got to travel to see us. We can do things quite quickly.
Yep.
A lot of other people just think, well, you're a complete, you really are you've lost the plot, because in their mind, it's not possible.
Yes.
They've been indoctrinated in a system where they're trained, but a very narrow viewpoint. And so, but if they thought about it, can you see my voice? Can you see the signals? While we're talking over the internet now, bouncing off a weather balloon called a satellite. Yeah,
Yep.
um, you can't see 99% of everything going on.
And even in our own bodies. I mean, I remember when I got dumped one time, I was heartbroken, and I really, 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 I felt like a shot in the heart. Felt
Yeah,
like if it was physical. And yeah, so we know the reality of things. I suppose if we sort of focus on mind to mind, and if depending on your understanding and learning, that whether you can accept that a concept or not is something else. But we live it all the time, actually. This mind body connection, connected everything thing.
yeah. I think the other thing is, I mean, I love collecting quotes from people, and I mean, although I'm not a fan of Albert Einstein, but I do like some of his quotes. And one quote is, "Reality is an illusion, albeit a very persistent one." Yeah,
Yeah.
and so you think about it, what the reality we're seeing, things that are made out of atoms, which is everything in this 3D world, is actually empty space. Because even a left-brain scientist admits an atom is 99.9999% space. And then if you look at the proton, the neutron, and the electrons, what are they? Well, they don't even know what they are. So I think the thing is that, for the human body, only 5 or 10% of it may be physical. The rest of it's in the ether. This is the auric field. And it's just as real as the physical. Hence, how can we see gurus pushing great big needles, right through
Mm.
their body, which I saw, and you'd see the needle come out like this, out the skin, and they'd pull it out, and they'd sit there, and you just go, wow. I was seeing this when I was a teenager, and
Wow.
when they pulled out, no blood, and it just so if you can transmute energy in different ways, you start to see everything's real. I'll give you an example. I went to, I'm very much into essential oils as well, and when Young Living, who I don't really deal with anymore, but I did for a long time,
Mm.
they opened their new European centre in Kimbolton in the UK, and I went there to see, is it Gary Young, I think, yeah, to do his presentation. There's about 150 people there, and upstairs they'd made everything with essential oils. So all the food, so for example, the lemon cake was made with essential,
Oh,
and and
lovely.
and the stew was made with essential oil of dill. It's amazing. And up the top there was two girls, and one of them, although she wasn't, black skinned, but she was in between, but she looked just very ill. In fact, she was almost white. She just looked, and a friend was very worried. So when everyone went downstairs to see his presentation, I said, are you okay? She said, well, I think we need to get a doctor because I think she's going to pass out. And I said, well, I tell you what, this is what I do. I give her a treatment. Well, the girl who wasn't well really didn't want it, but a friend said, "Look, it's either a doctor or Richard's going to." So we got her top off, and I went down her spine, giving her this treatment. And a friend was watching this, and so she was bent over. Her face was white. She was sweating profusely. She looked like she was going to collapse. And as I got down over with my thing called the pain genie over her lung heart area, it got totally stuck. And this is what happens when there's a blockage. It's the impedance of the skin. It's a lot of different things happening. And it literally got stuck. And as I started to clear it, she kind of moved up a bit, took a big breath, yeah. And as I moved further down, a black hand appeared right over her heart. Yeah.
Mm.
Now,
In your mind's eye, in your
no,
experience.
we could see it. A black hand appeared on the skin.
Oh, wow.
Her friend nearly went, "Oh my God!" And I just told her to be quiet. Yeah, so don't say anything. And I'm thinking, wow, as well. This is, like wow. So I carried on treating her, right? Carried on. And gradually she moved up, and a friend could just see that she was a smile on her face. She'd stopped sweating. She'd gone from being very kind of white and shaky to a normal color. We finished the treatment, um, and she put her top back on again, and she just grinned, and then she started crying. A friend, we were just like, wow, because transformation with her. And I said, how do you feel? She said, oh, it's amazing. She said, you know something? I've got to tell you this, but I was in this relationship with this guy for 5 years, and I ended it with him, and it was very difficult. And I always felt he had his hand over my heart, holding my heart. So it was absolute. And my friend, he went, whoa. And that had transpired and moved. So that's a manifestation in the physical of the mental, right? Of the mental reality. And
And how do you see it? Because I mean, I've had apparitions and things, and do you have to be in a certain vibrational mental state to be able to see these things? Do you think, or I mean, I've seen spirit before. I've seen actual sort of spirit, and I've heard voices before. I've never, but then I suppose we're all apparitions of what we see as well, aren't we? I suppose.
this was actually, you could see a physical hand
Yeah.
like that, like it got the heart,
Wow.
was squeezing it.
And the other lady saw it too. But
Oh yeah,
do you have to be in a certain frequency of vibration to be able to see these things, or
I think in that case, I think anyone who'd seen that would have seen it. That's my take on it.
right?
Obviously, you know, um, you know, my partner. she's a clairvoyant,
Oh,
astrologer, psychic. She will see things or just feel things. I mean, I
yeah.
just feel things. I don't see them, but she will see things. She'll get names. She'll get lots of different things, and she'll just go straight in on it. And maybe she doesn't know how she does it. She just has that tuned frequency. But some
Right.
things you see, like demonic possession, you see it in the real world. I mean, another example of this, I was doing a training course with a friend of mine, Clive de Carl, and this was going back, I don't know, 12 years, maybe more. And there was a girl I treated, and it was after we'd done a course, and you could see there was something quite right with her. And I was doing a very powerful treatment on her neck. And what happens is when you move things around in a certain way, if someone's got an entity in them, especially, you move the body without the person's control, which means that the entity can't control it. It's usually pushed out. Now, as I did it, her head swiveled around, and these two slit eyes like a goat went woo straight at me. I mean, almost knocked me off my seat, right? So I just thought, wow, and I just jacked up the frequency and the power. So there's this idea about possession, about demons, but I think most of them are in a different realm. They're in a different realm of thought and being and frequency. So you can have dimensions operating like in the same space, but things are there. Things are still there.
Yes, I
Like an
get
air,
that.
it's like an aerial. You've got an aerial, and you go and tune your radio, and you tune it to radio one, and then it goes shh, and it goes radio two, shh, radio three, shh. Now the aerial's receiving every frequency, but it's the tuning that picks up
Yeah.
what you want. So I think it comes down to it's a bit like one of the things we discussed before. I make a product called Aloha 7, which has a
Yeah.
lot of amazing high energy things in it, including Ormus, which is like monatomic gold and things. And what it seems
And
that
is it a liquid that you take? Is this
it's a liquid in a bottle. Yeah. So,
yeah.
so I think that the more you can tune your body, maybe the DNA and the tuning of your body, the frequency of your meridians, because each meridian has a different frequency, yeah,
Yeah.
and each meridian therefore has a different emotion typically. So the colon would be the lowest frequency of any meridian, and typically the colon would be the emotion would be holding on, can't let go. But what do
Yeah.
most people have when they've got colon problems? Constipation, right? Holding on,
Yes.
can't let go.
Yes. Yes.
So this is all very important. This is why we run training courses, because in a couple of days we can go through things and really show it's simple. I mean, it's so
Yeah.
simple that if people knew how
That's what
simple.
I say too. Healing is simple at the core of it. Healing actions are simple, and maybe conscious awareness takes more time, perhaps, or experience, perhaps. But the action of healing and alignment and healing is simple, isn't it?
I think you've got to know first of all things are possible, because if in your mind you're totally closed, it doesn't matter what you say. This is when you get cynics. The difference between a cynic and someone who's open to things. So a cynic is somebody who's already made their mind up, and they it doesn't matter what you say, they know best. They know best. But someone who's not a cynic has a fluid belief system, is open to show me. Okay, so you're saying that this is possible. Well, show me. And if you look at real life, for
Mm.
example, you had people like Roger Bannister who, before Roger Bannister ran a 4-minute mile, no one could do it. So in the wave of possibilities, it was really way out there. It was like, oh, no one can do this. Well, he did it. And then within 2 or 3 months, every bugger's doing it because they're going,
Yeah.
he did it. So you see what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah.
this is super important for people understanding that once it becomes something that they think they can do, then they can do it. And because
Mm.
most of it's
That.
in the non-physical realm, you just go back, for example, look back 30 years ago, children growing up, and they would do certain things, ride their bike. But look in the last 15, 20 years, free running, kids riding bikes along ledges like this, jumping off 20 foot from the ground, running off, jumping off buildings, doing somersaults, landing on the ground. If you looked at that 40 years ago, going, oh my God, they're going to kill themselves. Well, somebody obviously started doing it. And in fact, my partner's son he was one of the first people to do that. He was
Oh
going
wow.
crazy. Um, but the other children were going, well, he's doing it. Well, so I can do it. Oh, okay, some got hurt in the process, obviously. But the point being is, look at a lot of children out now who haven't had all the awful health things done to them. They're, I mean, some of the things you see, you just go, oh my God, you can hardly believe they're doing it, but they're doing it. They don't seem to
Mm.
have any fear, for example.
I saw
So,
this video the other day, one of these meme things, and these two guys were, I don't know, in the middle of Covent Garden doing shows, or in the middle of somewhere. They were doing these shows, and they were doing backflips, and they had these two little kids. They must have been about 5 or 6, so physically able but very young. And the adults, he went flip, he did a backflip, and then immediately the little kid copied him, did a backflip, never done it before, and the guys were like, quick, catch his head, whatever,
yeah,
and the kid was like, what? And he did it,
yeah,
and he was like, why are you catching me? What's that?
yeah.
But
Well,
he just copied the adults.
well, again, if you look at a lot of, you see, I look at a lot of leading research around the world, but especially from Russia. And because a lot of people, I'm not saying, viewers of your podcast or people who are awake, but a lot of people see, the demons of the Russians. Yeah. Well, nothing could really be further. There's not a problem with the Russian people. It's always about the leaders. And whether you, for example, like Putin or not, you look at what he says, how he says it. You look at, for example, 70-80% of Russia's GMO, non-GMO. He's got organic farming. Well, I mean, that's a really positive thing because all the trials with GMO show how bad they are. I mean, for example, but the Russian research is amazing to show what they already know, but very few people know it because it's not available. One good thing now about, and of course, Google is a CIA, FBI, Mossad, MI5 asset because it's really a marketing device. They want to see what you're looking for, and then they're going to sell you lots of stuff. And that's what really it is. And if they find something really good, they'll make sure you probably can't get it, right? The algorithms will work it out. But when you see, for example, what the ancients were doing, and what other, what we might call masters are doing, looking like bilocation, walking through walls. Well, people would go, "Well, you're nuts. You're a complete fruitcake." Look at the research. You know, back in the previous to the last century, the British Army in India were finding gurus who they could bury in a coffin for 40 days, dig them up, and they were alive. Well, this is documented, the British Army. Yeah. So, they were going, well, how do you do that?
What were they doing? Were they going to places, eating and replenishing themselves, or
Well,
what?
again, it comes down to the understanding of energy and chi and what's real. So, for example, at the moment, we've demonized carbon dioxide, right? It's terrible. Got to reduce carbon dioxide. Well, we're all carbon-based life forms.
I know that means That means reduce us.
Well, exactly. No, that's exactly it. It's to reduce us. And this is
Mm,
human race 2.1, transgender, everything is nanotech in the body. You're not really human anymore. Change your DNA. And the patents are out there. So when people, I do a lot of talks and people go, well, that's just crazy. I say, look at the patents. Even on Google, you'll find the patents. We are
mm,
being used as a node on an AI computer network. And the patents are there. Well,
yeah,
you don't get a patent for nothing, you know. So it's about understanding that we really are incredibly powerful beings, but we've been indoctrinated with what they call an education system, which is not. It's to make us good boys and girls, good workers, yeah, and to sit in a box that we think we can't get out of. But when you look at what we can really do, yeah,
mm,
I have
yeah,
loads. And what say when we do our training courses, we really do. Sorry, but turn this off. Do our training courses, we show them the documents. We show them, and they just go, "Wow, well, why isn't this available?" Well, it is, but you're going to have to really search to find it. You're not going to.
yeah,
It's rare you're going to fall over this stuff. So the main thing is that once people realise what they are capable of doing,
yeah,
and, and as a very famous person said, before you can think right, you have to eat right. Yeah? In other words, you know, you are what you can absorb, what you can eat and absorb. And so we have to be totally aware that epigenetics is how our cells are changing to the environment. The genetic code is only maybe 5 or 10% of what it is. So it's important, but epigenetics, how the genes are affected, yeah, by the environment, is everything.
You're
And
talking about Bruce Lipton. He's been talking about epigenetics an awful lot, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, loads and loads. I mean, Bruce Lipton wrote The Biology of Belief,
Yeah,
what you believe. Greg Braden, I mean, so many of them, so
yeah,
many. Um, but it's really showing you that if you're living in a toxic environment, well, you'd probably be toxic. I mean,
yes.
you know,
On the point of education and belief or not belief, I mean, I run a 90-day program of taking people through pain to pain free. And a big part of the first stage, of the whole of the first month, or all the way through actually, is educating people get into ways, trying to find answers, but they're getting down the wrong ways and the wrong actions because that's the way we're taught. We've got to change it. We're the ones that are doing bit of it, but it's not. It's not how energy works. It's not how healing works. It's not how the world works, but we're sort of trained into this little box, and then we pick up ideas about who we are and what we are, and confirmed by family members or whatever,
yeah.
and you get stuck. But so a big part of what I train in initially, it sounds like yourself, that it's opening people up and showing the options and possibility. So
Well, yeah. Well, again, I think it comes down to, I mean, make it very simple. There's two or three kind of tenets, I think. First thing is that you're not sick, you're toxic. If you start there, everything else makes sense.
love
So
it. Yeah,
you're not sick, you're toxic.
love that.
Secondly, all disease, all uneasiness, yeah, is caused by being toxic. And negative emotions are toxic. Emotions stand for energy in motion, and if they're flowing and you let them go, you see a cat chased by a dog, it's scared out of its wits. And next minute, it's on top of a tree, licking itself, thinking what mouse it's going to kill. Yeah, it's dealt with it. Usually, it deals with it, okay, if it's got good food and whatever. But what happens to us? We get all these fear-based things. So you want to be in fear, look at what the government say. Look at BBC. Yeah, look at CNN. They're all controlled by two or three companies and five men. So you're not sick, you're toxic. All disease is a blockage, and if you can find the blockage, you can deal with it.
That's
And
right.
and effectively, illness is your body trying to heal. It's not negative thing,
Exactly.
you know. And so they come out and they say, "There's a war on cancer. We've got to fight this." Well, as soon as you're talking that kind of ridiculous language, you're in a war. There's something to fear because if you're fighting something, you're fearing something. Yeah. So
Yeah. I'm
every
pushing against, you're creating tension.
yeah. So they've got a very clever situation with this empirical system, empire system, where people are bombarded by these different frequencies everywhere, and everything's frequency, right? So again, you can't
Yes.
see the voice. So what I found was what one company I founded in 2008, although it was going before that, was what the company called Pain Genie, which is a little device from the space program, Russian space program. And I've been using it for quite a long time with the most amazing results. I mean, nothing else that costs as little as that and is easy to use, in my view. And I've seen a lot of things, by the way, uh, came close to, being so good. So the trouble was the technology was called scanner technology, and it had only been licensed for pain relief, yeah, just for relief of pain, which is, not, it's okay because if you had a pain management, you got some relief rather than taking a drug, that's good. But
Yeah.
really, this was finding a cause because you rub it over the skin and it'll stick or feel tingly. It goes into biofeedback and creates a massive neuropeptide avalanche in the body. And the neuropeptides are some of the main healing items of the body. Someone who's healthy, neuropeptides are zapping cancer cells every second. They're zapping toxins, they're kicking it out. So again, you're not sick, you're toxic. Illness is healing, yeah. And if we can find the blockage, the cause, not the symptom, you can get well. But with the pain genie, whether you treat yourself or you're treating somebody else, because we've trained thousands of people over 25 years, and you don't need training, by the way, but you can learn even more because most people just get one, treat themselves, and they become pain free because it's sort of resolved the pain, not relief, yeah. And then
Yes.
often call up and say, do you know something? my kidney problem seems to have gone. Do you think it's anything to do with the pain genie? And I say, well, how long have you had the kidney problem? Oh, I've had 10 years. Well, what do you think? Because, you gotta be careful what you say, right? I said, what do you think? And the reason why is the genie's found the cause of the pain. Well, what's the pain related to? It's related to a disease process that got stuck. In other words,
Yeah,
it didn't complete 360. In other words, back to health again.
yeah,
You didn't raise your voltage enough to do the healing. Yeah, because it's
yeah.
all about. That's why people get when they get ill, they get hot typically because they're raising
Mm,
their voltage, right? So this is huge. I mean, it's absolutely. We've got hundreds of testimonials, and still, because of the propaganda coming from media, and the only guy knows what they're talking about is the guy in the white coat, you know. And of course, the
yeah.
guys in the white coat. I mean, they know two things about health. Yeah. So excuse my French. Nothing and F all. I mean, it's
Okay.
you know because
Yeah,
they know everything about disease. They're drug pushers, right? I'm not
yeah.
knocking all of them, by the way, because
But,
you know,
exactly. Well, sometimes we need them. If we're sort of split and bleeding, I'd like stitches,
yeah.
please.
No, no,
But
no. I mean, this is why I say I'm not knocking all of them. But and again, some drugs will save your life, and I'm not knocking that. But for any chronic disease that's chronic, they haven't got a clue, and that's why there's over 7 million people waiting for treatment. I mean, it's completely barking. You know, you don't have to be a brain surgeon, or I mean, perhaps you do, to work out it's 7 million people waiting for treatment, and they're calling it a health service.
mm.
I think it's really screwed up here. You know,
Yeah,
it's
but I think people are changing because I mean, this podcast has gone, it's just exploded, and other people like, and all this conscious, collective consciousness. I feel like people are really waking up, and proof is in the pudding. When people
yeah.
see they're better, or they feel better, or they're seeing their friends with whatever product they're seeing, then that's proof. People are going to be inquisitive and want to find out more. So, I mean, I studied shiatsu and energy medicine, Eastern medicine myself, and I liken your pain genie as something like that. It's picking up what's going on, resonance or disturbance in the body, as I understand it, and then it reflects back, so it creates balance and allows the body to heal. Am I in the right ballpark? Is it what
Yeah.
goes on with this pain genie?
So if you think about it, if you go right back to biology, when the sperm hits the cell and
Mm,
fuses, there's a massive explosion of life. You have
yeah.
these three layers: the endoderm, mesoderm, and the ectoderm. Three
Mm,
layers, and the sorry, and the ectodermic layer is the central nervous system, the hair, the nails, the skin. Yeah, central nervous system. Um, and therefore the skin is a major part of your nervous system. And think about it, if it wasn't, and someone dumped you in the Antarctic and the skin didn't tell you it was cold, well, you'd freeze to death, wouldn't you? You touch something, you feel it. You have to
yeah.
get that sensory input back. So you have these efferent and afferent nerves, A, B, and C nerve fibers that transmit information back from the skin, like touch, like feel, sensitivity to light, cold, heat, and whatever. and So the skin reflects the impedance of the internal organs, and every organ's on a acupuncture meridian or a chakra
Yeah.
or a node. And
Yeah.
so, if, for example, you just looked at the hand, because in our view, and I think this is fairly well proven, really, everything's holographic. Yeah. So for example, if you put your foot up, someone will do reflexology, and they'll push a point on the foot, and you go, "Oh, I feel that in my liver."
I,
They
I,
say,
I trained, I was a free footsologist for 20 years. I don't know
but
what
you
you're
know
talking
that
about.
the foot's a hologram of the body to an extent, right? Well, so
Yes.
the finger reflects the whole body. So does the palm, palmistry. Well, so does the
Yes.
arm, reflects the whole body. So
Yes.
we can treat the genie. You can treat yourself or somebody else. You treat the whole body through the finger or the arm. It doesn't mean to say you don't want to treat other areas too, but they will reflect the whole body because the body's a hologram.
Yeah.
And for those people who are not sure about what a hologram is something you can take a small part of it and recreate the whole. Yeah.
Right.
So like a fractal, you can find, it's in the fractal, you see something spiraling and it goes out a big one and a little one, and it's all in there that, it's all in the one picture,
Yes.
fractalization.
Yes.
So,
One,
so
one drop of water of the ocean is actually reflective of the entire ocean. It's
So,
a
so
reflective point, and it contains the whole, as above, so below. And what's the scalar? I don't understand. I don't really know about scalar. What does that mean, scalar? And what is that?
no, no,
What?
no, no. Scanner was just the original name of the technology,
Oh,
which is
okay. Right.
so Scanner stood for self-controlled ergo neuroadaptive reflex. I mean, what
Right.
that really means is the device would activate the nervous system and go into what you might call a biofeedback and wake the body up. So, we've done, well, I've done thousands, tens of thousands of treatments, hundreds, if not thousands of talks, training courses all over the place. And we get people up on stage that you've never met, they've got pain for 10, 5, 3 years, 3 months, 20 years. And usually within 4 minutes, there's a massive change because that once you know how to use the device, that's why we have a website and a DVD, and so anyone can use this. Um, we get huge changes. And the thing is, it's these neuropeptides, there's what they call short chain peptides that work very quickly, hence, you know 10 years of back pain can go in 37 seconds. That's the
Yeah.
fastest we ever achieved. And
Do
then
you,
the body starts.
and then the body continues, isn't it? The body's state of being
But it
is to
continues
be
to.
in
So you
balance.
might need multiple. Yeah, you might need multiple treatments. But the point being is, um, you can get off those toxic drugs. I mean, that because you don't need the drugs, and then you can heal from the side effects of the drug. So it's huge how it works. But it's just one thing in our arsenal. But we do spend a lot more time on it because it is so good, and so anyone can use it. So we've got
So it's like a reflective
hundreds.
thing. It's like a reflective thing. It reflects what's is going on in the system, and it reflects back. So it creates resonance. It creates balance, and then the body takes over from there.
Yeah, well, I don't actually. Well, mine's downstairs, but so there's an electrode, and it's called a coaxial electrode, and so there's one outside electrode and one inside electrode. So when you're rubbing it over the skin or holding it on the skin, from the middle electrode, it sends out to the body what seems to be a nerve impulse. Yeah, and that's
Yes.
transmitted to the central nervous system, and then the body responds, and the response is picked up on the outside electrode from the skin, because your skin is part of your nervous system. Yeah,
Yes.
and it reflects the, the health, the internal impedance, and um, things of your organs and your meridians. So it goes into like a biofeedback, and every impulse the device sends is different from the other one. So the body doesn't adapt to it, but in that process, there's a massive neuropeptide release. Now, if you were totally healthy, your neuropeptides would be flooding down over your 70 trillion cells, and you'd be healthy. But for all the reasons we discussed, epigenetics, bad food, GMO food, stress, negative
Yeah.
emotions, fear, you get blocked and you get blockages. Well, you find them very quickly with a Genie. So, um, I mean, and I know because we're supposed to meet each other and we didn't quite make it. But you met my friend Andy,
Yeah.
um, tributes Yaloha in the UK, and you had a good chat with him. But for
Yeah.
someone doing what you're doing, I'd imagine that if you, with what your knowledge at base, if you use the Genie, again, you're going to get incredible results. And it doesn't take long. It's usually quick, within seconds
Yeah.
or minutes, there's a
Because
transformation.
I saw Andy. He dragged them. It's a little handheld machine, isn't it? And he dragged the machine over his arm, and it was a bit sticky. And he said it
Look, let me
literally,
just get mine.
literally. Go for
Please
it.
go.
I'll keep talking. Yeah, so I went up to go and meet Richard up in Suffolk, and it was a bit of a long shot because he was coming all the way down from Scotland, and he was happening to be in Suffolk at this time, and I could make it. And I'm very busy too, and so I dashed up there, and I dashed up there, and of course, traffic and all the rest of it. And I missed him by about 10 minutes. We did try. It was about 10 minutes, but obviously not meant for that time. But I met Andy instead and his lovely wife, and that was another interesting talk, and he'll be coming on the podcast soon too. Let you all know all about it. But Richard, yes, shares the machine then.
This is one I carry about in one of my old coats in Ireland. Okay, so it's got broken and it's got tape around it, but it works absolutely fine. They're incredibly robust, so you can see the electrode there. Yeah,
Yeah. So what does
yeah,
I don't know scientific things. So electrode is a metal plate.
yeah. So there's the middle one, and there's the
Right.
outside one. Right?
Right.
So again, it's got some buttons that you can change frequency. So, for example, if I were to turn this on now, yeah, and I increase the power level, put it on my skin, yeah, to a nice power level, I can now rub it up and down my skin, and it's sticking right here, and this reflects my throat,
I was going to say
which
that's
I'm
the
doing,
upper part of your body, isn't it?
and it's actually sticking right here, yeah.
Mm,
So if I start treating myself now, right now, I'm actually treating not just my arm, but also my throat, yeah. It's that
yes.
easy. So,
Yeah.
so the thing is,
So literally,
the,
so
you
when
know,
it gets to a needed bit, it gets sticky, does it? It sticks on that area.
it'll fit. Yeah, and I can even set automatic mode. So now it's automatic. So I come over this area and I put it on. It will just treat me automatically. Can you see the lights coming on?
Just about. I think it's not very good on Zoom. Are the lights flashing then?
And
Also, I
all
can't.
lights. So, so that's automatically treating me that way. So, and you can feel it. I mean, I obviously do. I treat myself at least once, twice a week. But with my throat now, I'm doing a big detox and things like glyphosate, etc. And so, where do you get a lot of glyphosate? Well, when you're eating things you can't avoid it, it gets all down the esophagus, down here, into the liver and all the rest of it. So it's all very positive. But these technologies, if they were, I mean, we know that if they put these into hospitals, right? Well, I mean, the issue is they're never going to be in hospitals because the money is made from selling drugs. Yeah.
Another system. Yeah.
Yeah, and surgeries. Well, a lot of that you wouldn't need. I mean, you obviously you need good surgeons, you need good doctors. I'm not knocking them at all, but an awful lot of things. And why can't you just go? Why can't we work together? Why can't we take the best of big pharma, the best of the things, the best of hospitals, and incorporate this technology in? Well, I've got a feeling that in the next two years, you're probably going to see a lot of revelations to do with free energy, Nikola Tesla, things that are, for most people, if you told them now, are going to go, you're a complete fruitcake. You're going to see them being revealed for the first time. And again,
So
I think people,
as you say, these things are all there, and it's just because we don't have the frequency. When I'm studying, we've got a resident astrologer at Painfree at the moment. She's teaching us astrology, and I'm learning about, it's the age of Aquarius coming in, which is the raising of consciousness, and I think that's must be why we are all learning these kind of things. I mean, you're a guy speaking about these extraordinary things and healing things. When I was growing up, I grew up in a middle class sort of army family, military family, and these sort of things were not talked about. They were nonsense, absolutely. And men were men and dug good gardens and fixed stuff, and that's the way that was my view. I didn't even think men felt anything when I grew up. And so to hear you talk about these extraordinary things, I think the world is really changing. I remember seeing some builder blokes sitting in a cafe, and I overheard them talking about going to a crystal workshop. I was like, things are changing.
yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's good. Yeah, I mean, I
Good,
think
yeah.
I think many people also, after all the medical mad interventions which everyone knows what they are, over the last sort of 5 years and previously, I think people are realizing that they haven't been told the truth. And when they've seen their brother, who was totally healthy at 22 and could run 20 miles, had a few little things given to them, and suddenly not being able to get out of bed, they're not stupid. They understand that these are not things that help you. That's a control mechanism. So I
Yeah.
think we're going to see a lot of people who were on the fence getting off the fence and going, I wasn't sure before, but now I am. I think there's a certain amount of people that will always queue up for every single thing from the guy with a white coat because their consciousness is, if your consciousness is the size of a grain of sand, you know that's your viewpoint. If it's the size of a pea, it's bigger, and if it's the size of a melon, well, you could probably see many different things, pick up that frequency, and go, well, I give that a try.
And
I'm not.
I think also it takes a lot, like, like a lot of people. I mean, I have family members, my brother and my sister. I mean, they pretty much cut me off. and trying to tell them anything about anything. I think it interrupts their world view
Yeah,
and their social world as well. So it's their work, it's their social work where they live, their neighbors,
yeah.
and if everything fits there, everything's all right and their world functions. And then someone like me comes along, or they discover things they can't hear it because it's too alien, it's too opposing their the world that works for them. So I think it's not just open. Being open is a massive part of it, definitely, but it shatters their world. It's too much. It's too much change. They have to reject it to keep this world like they know, and that's the
Polar,
messy one over there.
yeah,
Yeah.
they polarize against it, and the way for people to see this in real life is they look at cymatics, yeah. And so, you can go and search on the internet, but you can take a plate, yeah, and you put water on it or rice or sand, and when you play a certain frequency, like 432, the solfeggio frequency, the sand turns into a beautiful pattern, absolutely beautiful. You go,
We've
wow,
just been we've just been talking about this on my healing group today,
yeah,
just before this call.
yeah. And so what?
Synchronicity, love
Yeah.
it.
And so then what happens is, as you actually increase the frequency, say from 432, the sand turns into mush. It goes into the pattern breaks down. It goes into mush, and then as you hit, say, 512 or high frequency, right, like DNA repair, another even more intricate, beautiful pattern appears in the sand. Yeah, but to get from this pattern to this pattern, you go through mush. Well, if you look at that as consciousness, because it's a resonant harmonic of how we are, then you go from your level of understanding, which could be very low, like a earwig, maybe. I mean, maybe earwigs are more intelligent than I think, or maybe I don't know,
Really.
an amoeba or something. But you look at that. So to go from this frequency to a higher, more beautiful understanding, intricate, it goes through fear because it means letting go of. You see, a lot of people think they're scared of the unknown. A lot of it is just being scared of letting go of the known. Yeah,
I
you go
agree.
from here to here, you go through this chaos, and that means that
Interesting.
if you want to move your consciousness and change, as Richard Feynman said, he said, knowledge is not free. You have to pay attention. Okay, so you've got to invest. It's like you have to invest your time and effort in going
Love
from
it.
one level to another level, and that means that sometimes you have to let go, well, totally of what you think you know, because what you think you know doesn't describe the next level. Your level is a subset of that, but it doesn't, it's a higher thing. It's like going to the top of the mountain, looking down and seeing everything laid down. But the trick is, to do that, you've had to walk up the mountain. You've had to see every level from different heights. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you got a jetpack and went from the top to the mountain, you go, oh my God, it's be too much. Because how did you get there? Well, a helicopter dropped me off. You didn't go through the path of getting there. That. So I think that's the important thing for people, is the path they go through in life, and the choices they make are totally going to be shown in their health, their happiness, whether they're depressed, all these type of things. And that's why I think
It's
again.
really profound. The way you explain it, Richard, is really wonderful and really profound, and you just make it so clear. It's exactly replicates what goes on with us.
And I think that's
Exactly.
why your understanding. So you look at things like astrology and cosmology and things like that. That they are, again, that they're describing a large part of it, and it's all part of the whole. So, if you look at a coin,
Mm.
it's not just heads or tails; it's also the outside. And so in
Yeah.
the quantum world, when we do our remote scanning, for example, we can scan people remotely with amazing equipment that came out of not just the Russian space program, but to some extent NASA. I mean, we know NASA usually stands for not a straight answer, and also not a space agency, but some things they've done, obviously, a fairly leading edge. But astrology is good. So if you get a good astrologer who can do a good reading for you, and anyone who, by the way, wants a good astrologer, my partner is super good at that, and it
Great.
helps. It's part of the healing process to have good astrology, and spend time on Zoom or Skype, get this showing the chart, showing you. I mean, it's an eye opener because there's medical astrology showing
Yeah.
you, and again, when you're born, for example, I mean, one thing we make this product called a lower seven. Um, so, for example, one thing we put into it is the 12 cell salts. Yeah, and an amazing guy called Schussler a long time ago worked out when he examined people who've been cremated, he found these 12 cell salts. And he surmised and postulated that if you didn't have one of these, you'd have a certain disease. And then they worked out that you spend 9 months in the womb, yeah, 3 months out of it, within that year. And so you typically have good amounts of the 9 months, which you've got from your mother and everything else. And the 3 months of the year you weren't, you can be low on them. And if you're low on them, you're very likely to have a certain disease. Exactly why, when you look at astrology and you see your birth date or your star sign, you can see which diseases you're more likely to have, because they relate again to the cell salts. It's a holographic whole. So if anyone is interested, say my partner, Victoria, does a lot of that. And you send me an email to richard@paingenie.com, we'll organize a session for you. This is really,
Amazing.
it's a great part of the healing. It's not just one thing, but the great thing is if you see it from a big holistic perspective, there are, um, I wouldn't say shortcuts, but there are ways of um, shortening things, making things much quicker with advanced technology and advanced understanding.
Yes.
So, in
So
either,
coming back to you, Richard. So the main things, the way that you put out your abilities these days is the Pain Genie. You train people and you treat people, and then you use the Aloha product as well. Is that have I got the right picture for you?
yeah, I mean, one of the main things we do is the Pain Genie because we've been selling it online on paingenie.com for, well, nearly 20 years. Been involved in it for over nearly 30 years now. It's an amazing product. Anyone can buy one online. Okay, you have to have an investment of 600 quid or odd, but when you see what it can do, hundreds of testimonials, doctors all over the world going, wow, I use this in A&E, didn't need intramuscular injections. I mean, all on, so this should be in every hospital in the world, basically. But someone
Yeah.
can buy it, they can look at our DVD, they get involved. That's huge and does so much. Once you've got one and a 9-volt battery, well, you've got one. You know,
Yeah,
uh,
and you can use it on yourself, on friends, or
yeah,
family. Perhaps you could share it with a small group of
yeah.
friends, possibly, or
Treat animals, which we don't go into too much. I've got to be careful with that. But um,
oh,
so, and we run training courses to take it to another level, for example. But
mm,
a lot of things are out. There's a lot of very good products out there, health products. We prefer to use good quality food, but it's very hard to find good quality food anymore. Everything has got nanotechnology from chemtrails on it. Um, Most of the soils, for example, in America, between 1920 and 2000, there's 81% less copper in the soil. So imagine and that's up to 2000. So imagine for 2000 to 2025, probably 90%. Now, without copper, your ceruloplasmin can't activate mitochondria. Hence, when you look at the average temperature from people from the 1920s to now, it's about 1 degree less. Doesn't sound much, but that means your thyroid's not working. Typically, people can't metabolize things. It's like having your Ferrari, clogging up because you don't never go over 40 miles an hour in first gear. You know, so I created Lower Seven, which is a really powerful mixture of things that anyone can take to power the body up. And we did videos on it, so that's a great thing. And then for people who
and
really,
it's all on your website. So if people want to take things further and explore, or buy the product, or have a look at the Aloha 7, all
I
the
think,
videos and everything's on your website.
yeah, I think Andy, who you met, he's distributing it certainly in the UK, and maybe other
Okay.
places. I
Oh,
think they,
is he the distributor in the UK?
yeah, yeah, he,
Oh, right, I didn't realize.
yeah,
Gosh.
I think he and his friend, they made a very basic website, I think called lower7.co.uk. So you go on there and you can order it, whatever. Um, it's not cheap, it's not expensive. When you see what's in it, if you had to
Yeah.
buy those ingredients, it would, cost you an arm and a leg. But the synergy is we put frequencies in. So I think it's a. I mean, I take it every day, and one reason I've got this thing now is I'm massively increasing my dose, and
Right.
it kicks stuff out very quickly. So that's
Right.
one thing. For people who are really want to, dive deep into it very quickly and have a lot of different health problems, we do our remote scanning, um, and on I think on paingenie.com, I've got a feeling that somewhere under like accessories or products, there's a link to our remote scans. Um,
Okay. I'll have a look and then I'll put it with the recording so people can go straight there.
and there's lots of
Just
information, but really what that is, we're scanning them with multiple bits of equipment, talking to them on Zoom, for at least 2 hours. It's
oh
very
wow.
interesting. And then we send them a sort of 20-page analysis of things to look at, things to stop doing, suggestions, diet, which in our view, remember this is our opinion, so we're not medical doctors, we don't want to be. And we're having good success because I've been doing these remote scans for 20 years now. You know, they're great. They're just like you being here, really. And that
Mm,
means that if we can find the toxins that are in your body and we can work out where they're coming from. So give
mm,
you a very quick one. A lot of people have EMF frequencies, electromagnetic frequencies, are one of the
yeah.
biggest problems, along with nanotechnology. So a lot of people still have in their houses DEC phones, the DECT phones, digital European cordless telephones. You have a base station.
Yes.
They have it on the base station and maybe one up in the bedroom, and they could walk out in the garden with this bloody great thing with an aerial, right? Well,
Yes.
they are incredibly dangerous because 95% of them
Wow.
are over 2,000 microwatts per meter, whether they're using them or not. So when we did it, we helped people in setting up a cancer clinic in Guernsey, and within a week we found like it was something like 9 out of 11 people who had cancer, had leukemia, and we found out that all 9 of them were pilots working out of Guernsey, and they weren't commercial, they weren't like Ryanair or British Airways. They flew cargo, and what they
Mm,
do, they'd be on call and they get a phone call saying, right, Fred, get to the airport. You've got to take this plane to Nairobi or whatever. And guess what? This is going back 10, 12 years. All of them had at least one deck phone right by their bed. So they're
mm,
sleeping by this deck phone was nuking their brain, and
mm.
all of them. And then once we work that out, because we can see the frequencies, whether it's remote or whatever, we found papers from South America showing exactly what we found, but we didn't know where to look until we found it. So the
So
main thing
by the scanning, you developed the knowledge and you could see what was going on with these fellas.
for the scans, we can see what's going. We can see what equipment in your home or your environment is causing you problems. When people understand that, so obviously, and especially during COVID when people couldn't get out, it was perfect. But we run clinics and people can come and see us, but then they've got to come down. Well, we love seeing people, but they might have to get a hotel overnight. They got travel, um, so it takes time, and but it's great because we're really giving them a mini training course about what to look at, what to stop doing, and to say if you can find the blockage, you can virtually anything's possible. In
Anything
our
is possible. Anything is possible. I love that. And if you're open and open to things, it makes a massive difference to ask questions, to open. And so if you're someone skeptical, maybe they're just in that stage at the moment, but for right now, but just to be open is really important. So,
yeah.
Richard, where do people find you then? You've mentioned paingenie.com. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, probably two websites to look at. See, paintgenie.com, we have a members area for people buying devices, which is behind a firewall, so no one else can see it. There's a lot happening behind the firewall because we're not going to we're not going to show that to the public. Probably get shut down. One other website you could look at, I set up with Clive, is called health healthgenius.info.
Health
Health
Genius.
genius.info, and that was really showing you that the body is an absolute genius about getting its health back. Not We weren't trying to say we were geniuses. We weren't trying to be arrogant. We were saying your body is a genius spiritual computer. if you give it the right stuff, it'll do it.
Yeah,
But if you don't know there's a problem and you don't know what the right stuff is, then it's going to take you a bit longer.
and that's all, isn't it? I mean, the body, I feel the guide, the inner guidance, the inner soul, or whatever it is constantly guiding you back to health all the time. It's constantly calling you, calling you, calling you. So it's just a matter of time how quickly you get there, really, isn't it? And what's your story? What's your path?
Yeah, well, I think you're absolutely right, and things like what you're doing. You see, you've been on this for quite a long time, doing amazing work, waking people up, doing your
Mhm.
podcast. But the spiritual part of you've got spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. They're all part of the same energy field.
Yeah,
So when you get a spiritual, or a telepathic prod, it's whether you're paying attention to it. So a lot of people go, I know I should have done that. I know. Well, how many times do you want that prod, right? Because if you really paid attention to it, like Clayman's saying, knowledge isn't free. You've got to pay attention.
yeah,
And these days, you're paying attention to be healthy means you're going to have to spend money on your health because we're living in toxic planet world. So
yeah.
the more
We need to do
podcasts, the more
crystals.
people that especially there's so many people like you out there doing a great job that eventually somebody, even if they're not paying too much attention, will probably fall over you. Yeah. And then they've
Think
got, oh,
so.
in my face, does it make sense? And maybe they won't do it straight away, but maybe they fall over somebody else and they fall over somebody else and they go, do you know something? I wish I paid attention to this 10 years ago.
Saying the same thing, is it that calling? How many times I said, "Oh, have you tried this and this and this?" And they said, "Oh, my friend told me that, or my somebody told me that," and okay, it's hearing
Oh,
it again.
you know, we have had a lot of people who seen, because, we've done a lot of things over the years and it's really quite funny, but in a nice way. And somebody might come on a training course, and they saw maybe the Pain Genie 9 years ago. They were really keen, but a holiday came up or something else, and they forgot about it. And they've had pain and different health problems, and they finally get one or whatever, or they come on a training. They go, oh my god, I can't believe this. Why didn't I? I said, well, you weren't ready for it. You're
Yeah,
only ready if you're going to really do it. I mean, again, there is an old saying, isn't there, saying when the student's ready, the master will appear. And
yeah.
if the master is your podcast or a Pain Genie or vitamin C, then it'll come at the right time, probably.
Your voice, and absolutely. So, Richard, we've come to the top of the hour now, and do get in touch with Richard, because if you're feeling the calling, definitely go and check it out, and perhaps get a remote scanning, or go and get yourself one of these pain genies and sort your health out, or go to aloha7.co.uk. And Andy, your colleague, is distributes them in the UK. Yeah,
Or,
Richard's been absolutely sorry.
or of course, I mean, send us an email,
Of
richard@paingenie.com,
course.
or call up Andy, or get in touch. And Andy uses the Pain Genie too. So yeah, I mean, we're always happy to have a chat with people.
Amazing. Richard's been absolutely delightful to have you on the podcast, and amazing to listen to you and everything you've had to say about this. I resonate with so much of it, as I'm sure your listeners will do too, because I think it's all connected, collective consciousness, and it's been absolutely brilliant. My throat now going.
Oh, there you
Um,
go.
yeah,
You're coming up to, you're detoxing in sympathy with me. Look, that's great.
it must be. Richard, amazing. Thank you so, so much for sharing all of this. And do get in touch with Richard to get some help. Don't continue to suffer. Go and get some help, and find out more from Richard and his websites. Richard, thank you so much. It's been absolutely amazing, and thank you so much for everybody for listening.
Well, thanks for having me.
You're
Cheers.
welcome. See you
Yeah.
soon. Hopefully see you in flesh next time.
Okay.
Next time you're over in the UK. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you, Richard.